It's another variation of the theme. This time I'm going to use Preact instead of React. Preact has a server-side mode. Let's take a look at the page for that. It's here, preact-render-to-string. It's also in the docs, but this is the repo that provides it. And in this case, you're going to npm install all the stuff, blah, blah, blah. And you have some different options here. You can render using that render function. And if you set things up right, you don't have to import H. Ching. You got this Preact components thing, which I might be interested in. Who knows? There's also an async flavor of this, and I'm not going to take a look at it yet. We do need an async flavor so that we can have shortcodes that are async, such as image stuff and all that. But one of the nice things about this one is I can, when rendering, oh, I'm really interested in this one. Render takes another argument, which is an object called the context, which is then available on the this of everything down the tree. So you could pack up the scoped data and get it to subcomponents, also known as shortcodes in other jargon. Back to the drawing board. We've got this in place. We just saw that you're going to have to install some packages. So in this case, I don't need to look at that. Don't need to look at that. I installed these two packages. They ship with their own types, so I didn't have to install types for it. And then the important one, go wiggle the wires over in the tsconfig file. I left it at this, but I pointed the JSX import source at Preact instead of React, whatever the hell it was before. And with that in place, I can go over to one of my templates, and I don't have to import H, which we saw here. Don't have to import H. That is because of the JSX import source. I have JSX in my namespace. Again, don't know why it's squiggling at me about this, but whatever. And I can see if I'll run. So I'll fire up my server, and indeed, it all renders. Yay. As mentioned before, I don't like to work that way. I like to stay focused. And so I'm going to render this component using render from preact-render-to-string in the middle of my test. In another world, I would then say document.body.inner HTML equal result. I would combine those two statements. And then I would start using testing library to make my assertions on the DOM, on the fake DOM and happy DOM. I should point that out. I have happy DOM set up, but I didn't put it in here. With that in mind, can I run this test? Why, yes, it passes. Can I have my side-by-side mode, put a breakpoint here, and run this test under the debugger? Yes, I can, and I can look and poke around. Allegedly, I've got an this.context object, which I could, we're here in the video. Let's go ahead and do that. So in my render function, I could pass something that said data, name, hello. And then when I run under the debugger, just to prove it, I can say this.context. It's got data. It's got data hello. And how might I use that? I might use that in my 11y. And right here, I might say data. And then all of my subcomponents will have, as part of this, they'll have this.context.data, which is the data for that rendering. And so I can avoid prop drilling by putting collections and configuration and all those other things are available on subcomponents.